Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Michael Parker. I'm the host of this show, Beyond Thank You. Today, we're going to have a conversation with a person that thank you for your service is just not enough. We're going to go a little bit deeper and try to find out the true story behind life after service, as well as life in the service. Once again, I am the host, Michael Parker, and my guest today is Tyron Thompson.
What's up?
What's going on, T? So, before we even get started, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Who is Tyron Thompson?
22-year military veteran, several deployments. Now I'm just a civilian. That's pretty much me over the last 12 years.
Okay, so when did you join the military?
93.
93. And when did you get out?
2014.
So today's conversation is going to take us a little bit through 93 to 2014. We're going to talk about a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
If that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Let's start out with, since I wrote a book, it was called Don't Thank Me for My Service. Tell me how that phrase makes you feel.
A lot of people thank you for your service. And sometimes you don't know how to respond sometimes. But people are really thankful for what we've done, and a lot of people don't talk about their military service. I don't advertise it. Most of the time, I don't get it unless I'm telling them that, hey, I'm retired military, getting a discount, or they see my tags on my car and I'm parking at the mall or parking at the grocery store, whatever. So I don't advertise it. I don't advertise my DD 214 or any of that stuff in general.
So just with that, what you just said right now, tell me a little bit more about that, because you tell me some people tell you thank you for your service and they really mean it and you're grateful for it, but you don't know sometimes how to respond. Why is that?
Because you're just doing the right thing. I mean, you volunteered for it, and you're just doing the right thing. Like me, my dad was in the military, so of course it took me a little longer to catch up with it, but eventually I joined the military. So and like I said, that's just the hard thing. That's the hard thing um, to get used to people telling you thank you, and really we never heard it, or I never heard it until I started deploying in 2005. So when we came back and everything, and then it was like, thank you for your service or whatever. And then and that was it, because I think when everything kicked off, I think it was broader. It was on the news. It was all over the place, seeing people deploy and all this other stuff right here. So prior to 2005, I had never even heard of a military discount or anything. So and I think a lot of businesses weren't doing it until after the war had started or whatever.
So pause for a second if you don't mind.
Okay.
So which war were you talking about? When did you say you first started hearing people say thank you for your service?
Right after I came back in 2000, when I came back in 2006,
And that was what?
that
What
was
what
Iraq.
deployment was it? Iraq. Okay. So once you started coming back, I kind of remember the same thing. I remember people saying it more so when we were on R and we were coming back on R and they'd be on the planes and they would say it. And
Hmm.
then the same time I started to hear people say it more often just walking by street, walking on the street. How was
Hmm.
that for you?
Same thing. And then you go to businesses and stuff. You go to a lot of businesses and stuff. They ask you, are you retired military or are you in the military or whatever? And
Mhm.
like I said, it wasn't always that way. At least when I was stationed up in Alaska, like I said, that's where I deployed out of in 2005. I deployed out of Alaska. There was no thing about the military was there, but I think they didn't realize how much the military affected everything until half the base was gone, and it wasn't like a little 12-month deployment. It was 18. We was going for 18. Well, we were going. The logistics side was going 18 months,
Okay.
and so a bulk of the people were gone. So it was a ghost town. So they realized that 90% of their business came from the military.
It was an economic impact on the community.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay.
So so then like it was like everywhere you go, you could use your you come in and you come into a restaurant in your uniform or whatever, and you sit down, you having a lunch or whatever, and all of a sudden your lunch is paid for by somebody or whatever. So it was just new. You go to a car dealership and buy a car, automatically you get a discount or whatever for being in the military or whatever. So like I said, it kind of grew, but it's gotten a whole lot better. So
Okay. So listening to what you're saying, if I was to take into accountability the time period when this all started to occur, was it financially? Was it more so for the gratitude of actually we're in combat and you're sacrificing yourself or likelihood of sacrificing yourself? Or was it, what was it? What was it that made people start doing it? Do you know?
I think it stems from the way they treated people when they came back from the wars earlier on. They didn't appreciate them. They didn't care. You were this, you were that, you was this, and everything. If you look at like old TV shows or old documentaries and everything, you see where people that went to Vietnam or went to whatever, you see how they was received when they came back. And I think this right here was like our major war because it was a 20 plus year war. And
Mhm.
I think somebody wanted to rewrite the narrative of how they treated the veterans when they came back. That's what I think.
Okay. So inside of my book, one of the things I talk about is we have to go a little bit beyond gratitudes or the pleasantries or the correct speech that we use, i.e., thank you for your service.
Hmm.
Um, and we gotta. You said that they might have identified that the way they treated veterans before World War I, World War II, Vietnam War,
Yeah,
um, they treated them a little bit different. So this time they tried to treat us, because I was with you at the same time, um,
exactly.
they tried to treat us a little bit different. But saying those words, the reason this whole thing is called Beyond Thank You is is there is there a commitment that was made between United States of America and you as a service member, or was it a commitment that you made to United States on behalf of you, not a mutual relationship between the two?
Well, I think now um, it's trying to get to a mutual relationship between the two because as you can see, um, the VAs are getting a whole lot better, and a lot of stuff um, that's happening to a lot of veterans and everything is mental. It's mental. Whether you want to admit it or not. So I think they're providing um, more resources and facilities, and they're listening to people as far as like getting medical. At least here where I'm at in Virginia, it's way better now. It doesn't take you 6 or 7 months to get an appointment for anything. Um, it don't take you 4 months to get a VA ID card or anything. It's like, they're trying to work with you, and they're actually listening to you. Um, and like I said, a lot of the stuff is a lot of mental stuff, and a lot of stuff isn't seen, and you'll be amazed about people. Like I said, I think I consider myself fortunate because a lot of the stuff that some of my fellow veterans are going through, like can't be in crowds, they can't do this, they can't do that, or whatever. I don't have that. I don't have that. I don't have that. But thankfully, they're going to the VA and they're talking to somebody. It's not. Well, let me put it this way: it's not as hard to talk to somebody if you tell them that, hey, I'm having a real problem. You can call when they tell you you can call 24/7. There's somebody there 24/7 that can talk you off the ledge.
Okay. And you know, all of those points that you just brought up are valid points and things that are there. That's one part of the commitment that America made to us. I say us because I'm speaking
Hmm.
as a veteran as well. Um, the other part of the commitment is, I don't know if you noticed, but less than 1% of the population actually serves in the military.
Yep.
So if, in my opinion, if less than 1% of the population actually serves in the military, I would think we as veterans wouldn't have to go through a lot of the loopholes and backdoor dealings and who you know to get the service that we assume we had. What do you think about that?
Well, this is the thing too, Mike. Yeah, think about it this way too. They're lumping in all the World War II vets, all the Desert Storm vets, and all of and everybody else in Iraq, Afghanistan vets. They looping us all into one big bunch because think about it. The people prior to us didn't know nothing about going to the VA or didn't know that Agent Orange would kill them eventually and all this other stuff right here. So I think once they once they put everybody in the one big pool versus that 1%,
Mm.
it made it harder. It was more people than they could handle. So they couldn't just focus on us anymore. Because you never, like I said, you never heard about people going to the VA for anything until the Iraq Afghanistan war. You never heard of it. You never heard of it.
So
Never.
so so if I'm understanding you correctly, what you're saying is over time they've gotten better
Yeah.
at taking care of veterans
Yes.
um, because of the vacuum. We'll call it a vacuum. The vacuum of the other wars prior
Hmm.
to ours that they had. I would agree with that. I think that's a true statement. That also tells me that that vacuum, that void that was there all that
Hmm.
time, is the learning curve. They
Yeah.
still haven't quite learned how to take care of veterans. And now we have another current affairs. Now we have another group of veterans that's going to be involved in being able to be taken care of. I mean, I retired in 2012. When did you retire?
14.
Okay. So you retired in 14. So everybody after us is another group
Yeah.
of veterans that now need to taken care of. And I don't know. I don't know if the systems are set. I know they're better than they were for the Vietnam vets, but
Mhm.
why do you think that took so long for them to figure out they need to do more for us?
Well, I think because a lot of people weren't coming up. a lot of people were embarrassed about coming up on the radar and telling them, "Hey, I'm still having these nightmares. I'm still, I've got these, this cancer. I've gotten this. I've done that." And then when you do separate from the service, when those guys separate from the service, it's not like it was when we separated from the service. It was totally different. You got your DD 214 and you just went on about your business. They didn't tell you that, hey, these are the things that you're entitled to, or these are the things that, if you start feeling these symptoms, you can go to the VA. So a lot of people just didn't have the knowledge. That's what I'm thinking right now. And it's still the same way from the old veterans that's gotten out. They don't know their benefits.
So so
That
so so if I can pause you for 1 second, since
Okay.
since you say that, the old veterans, we had this saying, we leave no man behind, right?
Yeah.
So if we leave no man behind, how do we pull those veterans that were left behind into this programs?
Well, I think because I think a lot of the old veterans, they don't. A lot of the old veterans. I'm gonna tell you this right here, right now. This
Mhm.
is the thing with me, and the only reason why I'm saying this is because of my dad. My dad's a
Okay.
veteran.
Okay.
If my dad had to do half of the automated stuff that you have to do to get text a message to let you know your appointment and all this stuff right here, it's not worth his aggravation. That's why my brother handles all my dad VA stuff, because my dad is in his 70s. He don't know nothing about a daggone text or scan a barcode or all this stuff right here.
Right.
And I think that um, a lot of the veterans, they feel like, okay, is it worth the aggravation? Because they see, like, the younger vets that's going through or whatever. They're like, well, if they're giving them a hard time, you know, why am I gonna go through all this stuff right here? Why are you telling me you gotta text me this right here, and you gotta text me that, and you gotta get in line to get your medicine, and you gotta do all this stuff right here.
Mhm.
Even getting your medication, you gotta get in line. You gotta know your DOD. You gotta know your DOD number. You gotta know how to spell the medicine that you're requesting, and then they gotta
I can't
text you
spell.
back.
I'm from Carolina.
Exactly. Me and you both. Me and you both. So you got a 70-year-old, 60 or 70-year-old veteran trying to do that right there. He'll never get his meds. He'll never get his meds.
So
And
so 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 taking that to account, I'm hearing that there's systems. What I'm hearing from you, what I'm taking from your conversation, is that there's systems out there now for us,
mm-hmm.
um, that are there to benefit us,
Yeah.
but there's still gates that you got to go through to get to where you need to be. Is
Well, I'm gonna
that
tell you.
right?
Yeah, you're right. Like I said, I was at the VA about 3 weeks ago.
Uh huh.
3 weeks ago, I went to get an eye exam or whatever, and I was in there, and there was two other older vets in there, and the lady was the lady that was fitting everybody for their glasses or doing their prescriptions or whatever. She was asking one of the vets. She was asking one of the vets, what kind of glasses do you want? And he was like, I don't care what kind of glasses I want. I don't care what kind of glasses. I just need to be able to see, like my other glasses that I broke. And she was asking him, do you have the progressive bifocals? Do you have the regular bifocals with the lines? Do you have this right here? And he gave her the deer in the headlight. He said, ma'am, I don't know what you're talking about.
I just want to see. That's what
I
he
just want to
said.
see. I
I
just want
just
to
want to
see.
see.
I just want
Exactly.
to see. So, um, so I think a lot of people that work at the VA, they they think everybody has a smartphone, everybody has a whatever, and it's not that way. It's not that way at all. So I think, for the older vets, um, you've got to have somebody there to meet them where they're at. You got to have an older person or somebody from somewhere that can meet them where they're at to explain this stuff to them. Um, that's and me personally, I think that most people, and I'm gonna tell you now, most people that retire from the military or whatever, only thing they care about is they're tax exempt, they're 100%, whatever, and they're getting their money. That's all the thing they care about. They never go back. They never go back and ask about all the other benefits because they just don't. They don't care about it. And so, um, with the VA, a closed mouth don't get fed. So if you don't go in there and sit down and say, "Hey, I want to sit down with a representative and have you explain all my benefits besides my tax exempt, my education or whatever," you will never know what you're entitled to. Like most veterans don't realize that they can go to the emergency room and when you go to check in, you can tell them, "Hey, I send the bill to the VA. You got 72. They got 72 hours to send You got 72 hours to submit the bill to the VA, and the VA will pay for that emergency room visit."
Okay, hold on for a minute. Hold on. I know we dove real deep into the VA.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't want it to be all about the VA, but now you're talking about something that most veterans don't know. Okay, so when you say that a veteran can go to the hospital, where'd you learn that from? How'd you pick that up?
Well, one of my partners um, told me about it. He told me about it. He was like, "T, you need to go to the VA and you need to sit down and just have them explain all your benefits besides your tax exempt and everything." So that's what I did. When I went up there, I
So
asked
that it, go
I
ahead.
went up there and I said, "Hey, can I talk to someone about all my entitlements as a veteran, as a 100% disabled veteran, and they don't have nothing to do with total and permanent or anything like that right there, just
Yeah.
100% or a veteran or just a veteran that's getting seen by the VA for whatever various reasons."
Okay. So if that's in place, that goes back to my book, um, a little bit. So when we go beyond thank you, I feel, and this is only my opinion, I feel that there should be, if you're asking for a veteran to come and ask for help, 9 times out of 10, most veterans not going to come ask for help.
Yeah.
It was instilled to us when we were young privates. You don't want to go to sick call all the time. You know the
Yeah.
stigma that goes behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So for us to even come to you and ask you for help, I think is the stretch. If that's the only way you're going to get the help that you deserve, I think that there needs to be something in place that helps veterans before they get out. Tell
Yeah.
them all that stuff. You agree
Well,
or no?
I agree. I agree. I agree with all of that. And now there is a lot of stuff that tells you that you have to go to a when I retired, they sent me to a week long course, and they talked about your finances. They talked about um, sitting down and going over your records and all kind of stuff. But it's so much information. It's so much information that's forced at you in those 5 days. So um, 95, 90% of the stuff that they told me in that class, only thing I
Over
cared
your
about
head.
was it went over my head. And then only thing I cared about was my medical. Only thing I cared about was my medical part.
Right.
All the rest of the stuff, I said, I'll figure it out, or I won't need it.
So taking that into accountability, each person is going to go through this process of leaving the military. To me, the hardest thing anybody ever asked me in my whole 27 years of service was, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
They asked me that. I was like, nobody has asked me that in 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody ever asked me, what do I want to do? So now you're asking me translate, and we kind of talked about this off mic. to translate what I did in the military or a whole nother path and find my way.
hmm
Um, how can we better that? What do you think about that part?
Well, this is the thing. Everybody, like with my experience, 2012. Like I said, March 2012. I was in Fort Irwin, California, getting ready to getting geared, getting spun up to head back to we was going to Afghanistan,
Okay.
and and I had made up my mind. I woke up. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. I went outside. I called my then wife, and I said, "Hey, I'm done with this right here." And she asked the same question. She said, "What are you gonna do?" I said, "I'm gonna do what the Army trained me to do. I'm gonna do logistics." That's all I know.
But what? Okay. So what is a person like me? I'm a combat engineer. I ain't have no logistics
Okay,
background. What do
and
I
that
do?
and that's the thing. Like I said, that's why I said you need 2 years. If you know you're getting out, you need 2 years to start transition. You need at
Okay.
least you can't focus because that your last year in the military, the only thing you're focusing on is clearing, medical, and clearing your property or whatever. So you're clean when you finally get your DD 214. You're not going back to the company and you're not going back to the battalion to do nothing. You're focusing on clearing.
Yeah, but we both know that in the military, we were fortunate. I mean, we were allowed to retire. Okay.
Yeah,
So that
and that's less than one
transition,
percent, and that's less than 1% of the people
right.
that join the military.
There you go. So taking that into accountability, if you're saying that's less than 1% that has that opportunity to actually retire, man, we got to have a fix for veterans. We not fixing just for retirement. We fixing for
Yeah,
veterans. So we get 30 days to clear when we're retiring.
yeah,
And depending on your rank, you may get 45 days, maybe. But if you're a private or say you're a spec four or whatever,
yeah.
that transition period is short.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. Like I said, one thing about one thing about Fort Hood, one thing about Fort Hood, I didn't like being at Hood, couldn't stand being at Hood. But the one thing I liked being at Hood was that the um the um the brigade commander and the I Corps commander or the post commander they put in place once you get your retirement orders, you no longer you start focusing on transitioning to your civilian side. So
Okay.
once I got my orders on December the 17th, 2013, they didn't see me again until it was my final out, which was on June 12th of 2014. I just
Right,
checked
right.
in once a week. So I was already transitioning into being a civilian. So I had
So,
plenty of time.
so tell me,
So so your
when you
so the
was
command so
transitioning,
your so
how did
your
that
so
go?
your so your so your command's got to support has got to support you too, and you have got to realize, and this is my realization in 2012, and it took me that long to realize I'm expendable. This is gonna go
What?
on. Yeah, I'm expendable. This is gonna go on whether Staff Sergeant Thompson is here or not. So now it's time for Staff Sergeant Thompson to start taking care of Staff Sergeant Thompson. And that's when I started saying, okay, somebody's gonna do this job when I leave. So now it's time for me to start focusing on what is Mr. Thompson gonna do when Mr. Thompson retires from the military? And what am I gonna do to start setting my own self up for success? And like I said, we talked about a lot of this stuff off the mic and everything. And soon as I came back soon as I came back in 2012, I had every intention on getting out. I had every intention on retiring, but Big Army was like, "Well, no, you're going to Hood." So I went to Hood, and still had the same focus. Didn't want to go to Hood, but I still had the same focus. And I told my sergeant major that, and he was like, "Well," he said, "Well, we wasted time sending you here." I was like, "I tried to tell you that," but I said, "But my focus is I'm going to do my job, but just let you know, this time next year, Staff Sergeant Thompson is going to be Mr. Thompson. I'm not going to be here, so I got to start focusing on how I'm going to transition from doing this to to doing stuff in the civilian world. And he
That's that's
understood.
that's awesome that you had that opportunity to do that. Again, we're talking about your situation. We're talking about a person that's retiring, which is great. What are some of the things that you had to unlearn since you were in the military?
Um, I stopped calling almost everybody sir. Don't care. I call you by your first name.
See, I do that but I'm from the South, and that's what they do in the South.
I just don't do it. I
Okay.
don't I don't I don't say 1400. I don't say 2000. It's 2 o'clock.
Okay.
I I don't use the acronyms because a lot of people just don't know the acronyms.
Okay.
Um, like I told you when we was off camera, when you get your resume, when you trying to translate your stuff into civilian, you've been programmed to listen to it 20 years plus in military terms. When it comes down to you writing it, you can't write it because it's somebody looking at your resume. I don't know what a command. I don't know what a CSDP is. They don't know. They don't know if a company is looking at your resume. They don't know what a CSDP is. They don't know. They don't know it's just an inspection.
Right.
They don't care about you doing staff duty or you did this or you did that. You got to be able to translate that stuff into civilian terms. And like I told you, everybody that retires that gets out of the military, they want to write their own resume. They think they're English majors and stuff or whatever. You're not. You're
Right.
not. You invest in yourself and you have somebody write your resume and then have them translate what you've done. Now you've got Chat BT, you got AI, so it's a whole lot easier to translate your stuff. But back in the day, you had to pay somebody to do it, and that's the smartest thing to do. And then you just maintain it
Mm.
to do what you need to do with it. But
Yeah. I tell you what's crazy for me. I was on YouTube, and man, I see sergeant majors, first sergeants, all kind of people on there. They doing YouTube shorts and all kind of things in uniform. And
yeah,
when I was in, that would be a grounds for you to get kicked out. Nowadays, it's like think
yeah,
they have the benefit of technology
mm-hmm,
as well as the curse of technology. But and let me explain that. Because when you use technology for your benefit, you can find out anything you want to find out,
mm-hmm,
almost. But most of us don't use technology for that. We use it for, oh man, that was real funny. They did a joke here, they did that. You know what I'm saying? Um, so if I was a person that was about to transition out right now, what guidance would Staff Sergeant Thompson give me? You've been through this already. What I gotta go? What I gotta do?
I I would like I said, fortunately, um, when I was about to transition, I was already on my fourth deployment. Sorry, on my fourth deployment.
Uh-huh.
So so finding a job or getting a job was not an issue. Was not it was an issue, but I had a big enough cushion where I had 6 months to find me a job. So it wasn't like I was pressed to try to find a job because I had deployed so much. I seen where I could get a job. And
But
the
when you say you had 6 months to
terminal
cushion,
leave.
you were one of the few. You've always been that type of person that managed and maintained their money. But the average soldier won't have 6 months, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, a lot of the young soldiers they want to get out, and let me rewind that back. So going back to me.
Okay.
So when I retired, when I retired, I already knew, I already knew there were logistics jobs in said countries because
Good.
I dealt with them. I dealt with them on a regular basis, and I knew it, and I knew it. And these are the type of jobs you just don't go in on Google and say, I need to find a job overseas or whatever. You have to know somebody. You have to start networking. So I started networking in 2012. I started networking with a lot of the people that I work with. Hey, how did you get put on? Hey, here's my card. This is what you need to do. Blase blah, blase blah. And um, so when it came time for me to put my resume out there, I already knew the companies that were that would take my skill set as a 92 Yankee and pay me very well, which I did. I've done very well in this MOS that I have.
So for the people that may not know, what is a 92 Yankee?
Unit supply specialist.
Okay. All right. Just want to make sure everybody
Yeah,
understand what we're talking.
yeah, unit supply specialist.
Okay.
And when you transfer it, when you translate that into the civilian side, you're not a unit supply. You're not a unit supply specialist. You're either a logistician or you're a logistic management specialist. It's just a fancier word saying that getting you out of that army mentality.
Right.
Like I said, a lot of the stuff about the military, I kicked it to the curb because when you are when you are when you transition from the uniform to a shirt and tie to some khakis and some boots or whatever the situation, nobody cares. Nobody cares what your DD 214 says. Nobody cares about any of that. And I find that a lot of veterans, I find that a lot of veterans that transition from military, especially a lot of sergeant majors, a lot of E8s, E9s, or whatever. Um,
They already got a leg up, don't they?
no, not really. Not really. Not really.
Okay.
They they have a hard time transitioning because they think that they could carry their rank into the civilian world. Like when we brought contractors or GSs on board or whatever, I tell them, hey, take that retired sergeant major out your signature block because nobody cares about that. Nobody cares about nothing. Only thing they care about is, can Brian process my paperwork? Can Brian help me do what I need to do with my property accountability? Nobody cares that you're a retired sergeant major, retired sergeant first class. Nobody cares that you got a Purple Heart, Bronze Star, you was a high speed this and high speed that. Nobody cares about none of that. So you leave that junk wherever you got to leave it to. You don't bring it into the civilian side. You don't bring, because nobody cares. Nobody cares, and that's what a lot of higher ranking people have a problem with when they transition from the military to the civilian sector, because nobody's checking for your DD 214.
Right. Okay. So now what do you do now?
I work for the Department of the Navy.
Okay.
Doing the
So
same thing I did.
so your MOS was able to transfer over to something that fit in the Department of the Navy, and you were fortunate
I,
enough to network your way into it.
yeah, I worked for the Department of the Army. I done worked for the Department of the Air Force, and now I work for the Department of the Navy.
Okay.
So, like I said, every branch needs some kind of accountability for the government dollars and the government property. So it's not a hard transfer over to work across different branches of the military. Um, like a lot of veterans don't know. Like you said, you got out as a combat engineer, but
Uh-huh.
back in the day, they didn't tell you, hey, Mike, you can go. We'll send you back to school to reclass and change your MOS. We wouldn't.
you don't care about being a 12 Bravo because, like I said, it doesn't translate. But we will train you in another field to whatever field that you want to. Like I said, when we was talking off mic
Right.
a couple of days ago, I told you if I had a chance to do it all over again, I'd have went in. I'd have reclassed as a contracting specialist. I would have took that time off. That I would took those 6 months that the government, the VA would have paid me to go back to school, and I would have learned contracting specialist job. I would have learned all I need to know about that, and be a double threat. And so now, a lot of the stuff, so that's what I would have did. That's what I would have done. That's what I would have done. I would have kept my logistics side, but I would have did that because, like I was telling you before, contracting goes everywhere, everywhere,
You know you're
every
dropping jewels
aspect.
now, right?
Huh?
You know you're dropping jewels right now, right?
I'm just telling you. So, just because what people don't realize, Mike, is that a lot of kids, E4s and below, oh, I'm gonna get out and I'm gonna go to school. You're not gonna make any money going to, you're gonna make that little bit of money going to school. But why not do both? Why not spend that 6 or 7 months or that year learning how to read the FAR and read the contracting standards and do this other stuff, or become a 92 Yankee, get into the regulation, learn how to be a different person, and then go to school. Then go to school. Because you still got your same benefits. You still got your same benefits. Then go to
Right.
school. But learn something that's gonna transition over and have you successful. Because like I said, I've been retired since 2014. I haven't made less than 6 figures since I retired.
Hey, stop that. Stop bragging.
I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you the
I'm
truth.
just messing with you,
Yeah,
brother.
I'm just telling you the truth. I haven't made less than 6 figures since I retired.
Uh-huh.
But I pigeonholed myself into a box where all I do is logistics. And like I said, if I had a chance to do it all over again back in 2014, I would have said, okay, I'm on 6 months terminal lease, so I'm gonna get a paycheck no matter what. Let me go to contracting. Let me go to the VA and tell them that, hey, I want to reclass as a contracting specialist. Send me to reclass school and let me learn how to do these contracts. So,
I got you.
but,
Well,
like I said, a lot of people, like I said, I've been fortunate, and I did network. I networked a lot while I was in the desert. Um, and believe it or not, by the time I made it back to the desert as a civilian, some of the same people that I networked with, they were still there they might have been doing a different job and working for a different company, but they
uh,
knew who I was. And so,
helped.
yeah, so like I said, when I first became a contractor, I lost my job twice. I lost my job twice as a contractor.
Hmm.
Lost my job twice. I got there in July. I got to Kabul in July, and I lost my job. I lost my job the end of September. I lost my job because I got cut from the contract because they went from Honeywell to Lockheed. Yeah, Honeywell to Lockheed. So I was the last one to get hired. So guess what? I was the first one to go. So I go to lunch. Well, before I go to lunch, I post my resume to this company. I come back from lunch. I already got an interview. I've already got an interview. The guy calls. I called the guy, and he was like, "Hey, when can you start?" I said I could start in 2 weeks. So I fly from Kabul to Bagram. They give me this job as a TPE planner, making bananas.
What is TPE?
It's theater property equipment.
Okay.
You manage everything in country was TPE, and the reason why TPE started was because when the war first started, people were bringing stuff from their home station, They were bringing all their equipment from their home station to
Right.
deploy. So when they figured out it was too expensive to do that stuff, they built up equipment in country. But you had to have somebody to manage it, and
Right.
that's where we came in at. So I did that. I did that from October until April the 15th. Lost my job again. Not a problem. So so anybody that's ever been to Kuwait, everybody's been through AJ. Everybody's been through AJ. So I'm in AJ. I get a call from the company that fired me that let me go the first time, asking me would I be interested in another job. And I said, well, I'm about to go home. And she was like, well, it only take about 10 minutes of your time or whatever. I'll send the PM down to the interview. I interviewed for my job inside the PAX terminal. The guy said you was hired. And he was like, well, where's your bags? And I was like, well, I got to go home. I haven't been home since July 2014. This is March 2015. I haven't been home.
You're a contractor at this
I
time,
was a
right?
contractor at this time.
Okay.
So I go in, I do the interview. He hires me. I come home, and the reason why I had to come home is because I wouldn't get my severance pay if I didn't go back through El Paso to out process.
Welcome home. Welcome home.
So I go through that right there, and then I get into the circle of I was like, I'm not going through this again. I need to get away into the GS side. And that's what I did. And I've been in the GS ever since.
Well, sounds like you have said at the beginning, a story that doesn't end in one sentence. It's more than just thank you. Um, you're serving in many ways. You served in the military in the uniform, and
Yeah.
now you've served at a contractor, and now you're serving as a GS employee. So you're
Yeah.
still serving.
Yeah. Still serving.
Yeah. So we want to say thank you. We want to go beyond that. So
Okay.
now, how can we give back? How can we, service members that have the experiences like you do, how can we give back to the generation after us, I guess?
I've given back. I've given back. Like I said, nobody's told me nothing when I retired. Like I said, I just used what I knew. And from friends that retired, because my first contracting job I got offered was for $300,000 a year. That was in 2005. I got offered a job, and
Contracting, right?
contracting,
Okay.
and
During that
so
time, you're in the theater though, so
yeah, I'm
that
in theater.
money
I'm still
trickles.
in uniform. I'm still in uniform.
Right.
I'm struggling thinking about raising my right hand to reenlist. So I reenlist and whatever. Um, so when I got put on, when I figured out and broke the code, I told every 92 Yankee that I could possibly think of, and a lot of them, and believe it or not, a lot of them wound up meeting me in the desert. But by that time, I wasn't a contractor anymore. I was working over there as a GS.
Okay.
A lot of my I could name 10 of my friends. And matter of fact, one of my best friends, he's my best friend to this day right now, and you know him, PJ Oles. He came on. I got him over to the desert,
Uh-huh.
and now he's now and got him and he got himself into the GS by, like I said, by me telling him, hey, this is the person that you need to see, and this is the person you need to talk to. This is the person you need to. This is the person you need to. This is the person that you need to see.
So you put him
And
on.
now he's a GS. And then my current job that I have now, he's the one that put me on to this job here back in the States. So like I
Right.
said, we don't ran full circle. But the thing about it is I wouldn't have none of this what I have if PJ or Corporal O's at the time wouldn't have taught me how to do supply in the beginning. So we kind of took care of each other, and it's like kind of like full circle now.
Right.
But But yeah, so I do pay it forward every chance that I get, and I tell everybody, like I tell everybody, hey, learn, learn your job, learn your job, and these are the people. These are the companies. I used to send out emails telling people these are the companies hiring logistics people right now, and believe it or not, half the people that you dealt with, their main stick up was that they didn't have a passport. How is it you're in the military, you've been in the military 8-9 years, and
The gym,
you
that's a
never got a
gym drop
passport.
right there. That's a gym drop right there. Everybody, you need to, if you don't have a passport, you need to work on it right now.
You need to get your passport. You need
Yes,
to have
sir.
you need to have a passport. Then, you know, you need to be able to you need to be able to um, you need to be able to have your house, and it sounds crazy. You got to have a passport, and you got to be able to um, be ready to be go back into the combat, because that's what you are. You're going back into combat with no weapons, no nothing. You gotta get mentally prepared for that.
If you
And
take the contracting route.
if you take the contract or the GS route, take the contract
Okay.
or GS route. It doesn't matter. You
Okay.
gotta be you gotta be you got to um a lot of my friends, they were like, well, you know, my wife is not going to let me do this right here because she doesn't want to do this by herself, and she don't want me being gone or whatever. So I was like, so you'd rather struggle and work at McDonald's? I ain't got nothing against McDonald's, and struggle versus putting your trade to work to provide better for yourself, because
That's going to be a personal choice that everybody's going to have to choose for
exactly
themselves. So yeah, I
exactly
understand that. Okay.
it's a personal choice.
Right.
So, and you know, fortunately, um, my wife at the time, she was used to me being gone because I was deploying so much. So
Right.
it wasn't a heavy lift for for me to tell her, hey, I'm going to take this job and go and work overseas.
Right.
It wasn't a heavy lift, but I explained, like I said, a lot. And then this is another thing too. Um, you got to have an honorable discharge, because if you got something less than honorable, you're going to have to explain it. You're going to have to do a whole lot of explaining and all this other stuff right here. So
Battle starts at the end of your service, huh?
battle starts at the end of your service, because you honorable, no questions asked. And then this is another thing. A lot of the people that I dealt with and that I put on, they never had a clearance, which I could not believe that.
Well, they
They
don't give
didn't.
clearances to everybody. They only give clearances to the people that need to have them.
I
The army ain't trying to spend that much money neither.
I had a clearance from the day I got the basic training, and so that's another thing. So with me, with me, with me, with me, it wasn't hard. When they said
Right.
you have when they said you have, I said, yeah, my clearance is still active. I said I'm still on active duty. I said I'm still on active duty. And at
Right.
the time, and now check this out. Now this is another thing though, too, Mike. When you when I retired, you had to wait. You had to wait 180 days before you can go into the government system, unless you got an exception to policy letter.
Oh wow. Okay.
So a lot of people went contracting. So
Right.
that's why I went contracting in the beginning, because I could double dip. I was still getting my military pay, my BAH, and everything, but I'm still drawing six figures working over in the desert.
You dropping a lot of gems about your story, and your story is valid and something, one of the reasons we want to do this platform right here is to give people a chance to tell their story. Um, and when we say beyond thank you, we mean, you know, how can we give back? How can we hold each other accountable? How can we also hold a system accountable? Um, and we appreciate everything that you're sharing with us right now. You dropped a bunch of gems. Um, what would you like the people to carry forward from conversation between me and you that could better benefit them before we close it up?
Well, I think you need to, if you know that if you know you're not going to do 20, if you know you're not going to do 20, don't take going to school, going to school majoring in psychology. What are you going to do with that? Because number one, you're not going to come out making the kind of money that you think you're going to make as a psychologist. Number one, that's number one. Number two, number two, go into another field, reclass to something else. If you don't have a job that can reclass over into a civilian side of the house, reclass, especially if you get out as E4 and below, reclass.
Okay.
Reclass into something else. There's a 28-year-old kid that works with me right now. He served in the military, got out of the Navy as an E5. And he's a GS-13, 28 years old. Making six figures stateside. Right. So, like I said, school's going to be there. They're not going. School ain't going nowhere. School is not going to go anywhere. But the thing about it is, you gotta. People going to school, it's like they're running from something. That's my attitude about it. They're scared to go into the civilian world. They're going, well, what do you do? Oh, I go to school. What are you going to do after the 4 years? You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that job making six figures. They're going to start you out at the bare minimum, and you're competing with a 21-year-old that's going to take that bare minimum. They'll have no responsibilities and none of that stuff right there. Because most E4s or E5s get out of the military, they already got families, and their sole source of income is getting that stipend from going to school. So what are you going to do? So take your butt to go to the VA and say, hey, I want to reclass into something else. IT, contracting specialist, something else that you can
brings us back to knowing your benefits. If you know your benefits and what you're entitled to when you get out, you just got to use it to your advantage.
That's what I'm saying. That's the biggest thing. And like I said, and with the VA, they're going to help you find a job in that said field. They're going to help you find a job in that field that you reclass to. But that's my biggest thing that I would tell you. Now, if you retired, you can still reclass. You can still reclass into something. Into something. But reclassing something that you know that Nike uses, Microsoft, Google, all these companies have logistics. They have IT specialists. They have contracting specialists. They have all of this stuff where they hire you to do all of this stuff and make a good living at it.
Right.
And don't get set on the being in the location wherever you're at. If the job tells you, hey, the job is in North Dakota.
You ready to move, huh?
Go to North Dakota. Or if they tell you that the job is in Dubai.
Right now, I ain't going.
Huh?
If they tell me that right now, I ain't going.
Yeah, of course I wouldn't go now, but I'm just saying, you just got to be, you have to be open to relocate. Open to relocate, or at least put yourself in a better situation, because like I said, you're not going to come out making the kind of money that you think you're going to make after your 4-year degree. You're not going to be in no financial debt, but you're not going to be making the kind of money that you need to make to support your family.
Right.
And so, you need to start, and then you need to be able to go to whoever you work for in your military career, and tell them, say, hey, I'm about to transition, so I need time. I need time to start transitioning over to whatever I need to do to get ready for this civilian, get ready to transition over to being a civilian, because I'm not going to be Specialist Thompson or Private Thompson or whatever. I need time to transition, and a lot of people they feel like that. Well, we need him here. We need him to do this right. We need him to do that right there. At some point, you got to draw the line in. You got to draw the line in the sand and say, okay, well, I got to start taking care of myself, because there's going to be somebody here to fill my slot. In a month after I leave, there's going to be somebody else here if my slot's not already been filled already. So you need to make that clean break, and they need to get, and whoever they work for, they need to get used to you not being around, and you need to start taking care of yourself. At some point, you got to get that selfish gene and then say, okay, I don't care what Sergeant so-and-so is saying. I'm getting out. Right. I've got to take care of my family, do what's best for me and my family. So I need to start preparing mentally and professionally to do it. And one more thing too, start doing interviews. Even though you're not even out in the military, you start applying for jobs. Get you a resume, professionally done resume, and start putting it out there. And you're going to get phone calls. I started getting phone calls probably like 60 days after I put my resume out there. I started getting calls. Hey, can you do this interview? Oh yeah, I can do it. Knowing I couldn't go nowhere, knowing I had about 6 more months before I got out there. But the purpose of that was to start practicing talking about answering questions from a stranger that you don't know, getting dressed up, wearing a suit and a tie, going to an interview, and talking to somebody face to face. And now, like I said, you got technology now. So now you can get on your computer or your iPhone or your phone, and you can do an interview and look at yourself, and you can look at yourself and do the interview, because as we talked about this off camera, the hardest thing to do is talk about yourself. And that's one of the first questions when I'm on a board, or if I'm interviewing somebody, that's the first thing I'm gonna ask you. Tell me something about yourself, and tell me why are you the best candidate for this job. And you need to be able to answer that. And that's going to tell that employer everything that they need to know about you and your knowledge base.
And with that, sir, I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for your time. Man. Thank you for your service. Thank you for going beyond. Thank you. We appreciate you, Mr. Thompson. Thank you. I hear the music in the background. So we're going to close it out for now.
Oh, that we went long. We went long, didn't we?
Yeah. Before we close, I always like to end with this.